Yeah, we're going to round that off and talk about one game which is going to lead into discussion, Spurs winning at Forest. But in the last few weeks, it's not been great for them. Out the FA Cup to Sheffield, out the Champions League to AC Milan without scoring a goal in either leg. They pretty much aren't going to win a trophy. The only tournament they're in now is the Premier League, but come on, they're not.
You never know.
Oh, come on, they're not winning the Premier League.
No, they're not.
Like, I mean, you don't think United are winning the Premier League, so there's no way you think Tottenham are. And yeah, they did win on the weekend. They did win on the weekend with a 3-1 win. Could have been 3-2. Saved the penalty in the last minute. Doesn't really change the result, but still. Kane with 2, Sommer 1. You know, it's just a fine win against Forest. You'd expect them to win at home against Forest, but you know, you can't help but feel that it's like, yeah, you're winning the games which you're expected to, but you know, when it comes down to crunch time, it's not really been there for Tottenham this season. And they are in the top 4. They are up there, but they've been a bit inconsistent as of late. And
it is strange because it's not actually been a horrific season overall for Spurs. Imagine in the last, 3 years, 2 years, Arsenal had a season like this. And like, forget that we're top of the league at the moment, but if Arsenal had a season like Spurs are having now, we'd be happy with it.
It would be not too dissimilar to our season last season, except we're 4th.
Exactly.
In the inconsistencies.
So it's not a bad season for Spurs. The error or the bad mood just lies around the manager, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Antonio Conte. I mean, he said the other week in the press conference, you know, they might sack me before the end of the season. Who knows? Maybe they're disappointed. Imagine your manager of your club coming out and saying something.
Yeah.
Like
It's very Conte, though.
It is.
I feel like he does that quite a lot. He throws his toys out the pram. You know, he packs his bags and leaves most of the time, and I think he will leave. I think he'll announce that he's leaving before the end of the season.
Well, no, his contract runs out at the end of the season, so I don't think he will. I think he's just going to let it happen.
And he has had a hard year. You know, he had that gallbladder surgery. I think he's tragically lost maybe like 3 close friends in this last year as well, which apparently has made him rethink his work-life balance and whether he wants to spend more time in Italy with his family and close friends. But ever since he's been at Tottenham, there's always been that question of, should you be here? Are you way too good for this club? And like, even in that, you got that vibe, even when we were in the press conference last season for the Brighton Spurs game, you just got that impression of like, he was a little bit, they won that game. You know,
and he was a little bit hesitant. He's like, yeah, Harry Kane's great. That, the other.
When's my contract over?
Obviously, I mean, if you haven't noticed, this is the discussion we are talking about Tottenham and their future, really, with Conte. And I've got to say, I never thought it would end that great with Conte.
It never does.
It never does, and I think that he always ends clubs in a bad way. And also, people thought that he was going to come in and win a trophy. His cup record is actually abysmal. He only really wins league titles. But guess what? Tottenham aren't going to win the league. They need to win cups, and they're knocked out of every cup pretty early on now. His record in the Champions League is pretty shocking. You know, Tottenham need trophies. They brought in a short-term experienced manager who doesn't win cups. You know, the last time they did that with an experienced manager, they brought in Jose and they sacked him before a cup final, which I do think is category one of the worst decisions ever made by any club ever. Because I stand hand on heart, I don't care if it's Tottenham and it's my rival. If he stays in that job, I think they actually win that game with Jose in charge. But with Conte, you know, even in the summer, they've invested in a short-term manager and it's failed. And they're now stuck with players who supposedly suit his system.
What? So would you argue for them to stay with Nuno because he's more long term?
Maybe not, because I do think Nuno maybe was a misjudged appointment. I mean, I still will think that sacking Pochettino was a disgraceful decision because they didn't invest in him, and as soon as he went, suddenly the money was being pumped in.
Here's the thing: like, it's been rumoured in recent days that the Tottenham players, if Conte is to leave, they want Pochettino back, which I think is quite disgraceful from the players. I think they should be supporting the money. It's like next season, Arsenal going on a bit of a bad run, and all of a sudden it comes out that all the players want Arsene Wenger to return as manager. It's
to be fair,
weird.
not many will, because not many played under him.
But I mean, it's the same sort of thing, you know.
But is it disgraceful though? Because these Spurs players, what if they get the impression that Conte doesn't want to be there? So then why should they back him?
I wouldn't want my players to not back the manager.
And would you want your manager to not want to be at the club?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, isn't it? Because Conte doesn't want to be there, but the players don't want him there anyway. It's just rotten. It's rotten from the core.
I feel like at the moment Spurs are just kind of like looking at the situation, just going, right, let's just do what we can for the rest of the season, see if we get top 4, and go from there. And I've seen some people ask, should Conte be sacked? And realistically, I don't think it makes any sense to sack him now. his contract's out at the end of the season. I think you just got to wait it out, see what you can do. Hope Kane gets you on the way to top 4. And then in the summer, there's just big conversations to be had because they need a new manager and they can't do what they've been doing recently. They can't be going for these, experienced winning managers. Because I know from the Tottenham perspective, they want to win trophies. But the thing is, they need to start looking at the future. And you need to start thinking Kane's approaching 30. He might be gone in the summer. Son's ageing and not performing. That you need to start getting a fresh, new project in. And which is why I thought Conte was the wrong move. Because you look at that summer, that transfer the one they have, and I have no idea, it was hailed in the summer as like a great window. And I remember thinking, this is quite poor. For a team in the Champions League to spend this money on these players, isn't that great? They got Perisic for free, and I thought, that's not the greatest move. He's had a poor season. Forster, I always thought, if you're going to get a new backup, not the best option. Spending 60 million on a striker who doesn't score in the Premier League, when Gabriel Magalhaes has 3, it's not the best. And the one signing which I thought that's actually a good move was Jed Spence. Decided just not to play him at all. And
well, you mentioned Richarlison, the thing from the weekend.
Oh no, yeah. Well, we need to mention before that. We need to mention last week after the AC Milan game, he came out and said, I'm gonna have to swear, but he does say that because it's in his quotes. He says we're having a shit season, and then Conte in his press conference said, I think he's talking about himself. He is having a shit season, and then laughed a bit.
Wasn't it that? No, I thought Richarlison said he was having himself.
Well, no, like it's like not. He doesn't say I've had a shit season. He kind of says it's been a shit. He says it's been a shit season, and then Conte goes, well, it has been for him personally. He hasn't got scored in the Premier.
Yeah.
And then he scores 4 minutes into the Forest game, shushes Conte, unfit to be ruled out. He scored 2 goals which have been disallowed this season. First one, he takes his top off and cries for 2 minutes, and it's a bit. I feel a bit sorry for him, but not really. I do really dislike him. He's an awful player. It is funny to see someone spend 60 million on a striker that doesn't score. I mean, this is still Dada all over again. But if we're going to talk about strikers, we've talked about Conte a little bit. Actually, before we get onto that, who would you appoint if you were Tottenham? Who do you bring in?
I know exactly who I'd
Yeah, so do I. Should we say it on 3?
Yeah.
3, 2...
No. I don't have mine. I'll let you two go.
Yeah, cool.
Give us a countdown.
3, 2, 1.
Roberto De Zerbi. Oh.
De Zerbi and who?
Tuchel.
Those are the names.
You want to win a trophy, Tuchel is the man.
I don't think Tuchel is the man for Tottenham. I think, look, this would be the 3rd ex-Chelsea boss they brought in the last 3 years.
I don't think it matters. I think if anyone in world football can near enough guarantee a trophy, it's Thomas Tuchel.
No, I don't think they can. I think it's Jose Mourinho, and they sacked him before it. And I do think they just need to go with a fresh approach.
And there's a difference between Chelsea, where Chelsea were when Tuchel came in, and where Tottenham are now. Like Chelsea have got that winning mentality in their club. They've got it in them. It's not too far out of stretch. Tuchel would have to revamp the belief system at that club, and I don't see him being able to do that. I really rate Roberto De Zerbi at the moment. I really think he's doing something special at Brighton, and I think unlike Potter, he has that ability to come into a club, whether they're big personalities or not, and just shake them into gear. And be stubborn like he has been with Caicedo. I mean, he might have not made those decisions himself, but he was stubborn with Trossard. When Trossard kicked off, he said, right, you're missing the next couple of games.
And then you leave if you want to.
Exactly. And I just think he has that mentality to really take Tottenham to the next level. And I would be a little bit scared if Roberto De Zerbi went to Spurs.
I mean, you mentioned Potter there, and the fact that with the big personalities. I don't think Tottenham have necessarily those big personalities. They've not won anything. Most of those players haven't won anything in their careers. And I think, genuinely, Potter would be perfect for Tottenham. And it's a bit of a mismatch at Chelsea. However, things are starting to go a bit better. They've got 3 wins on a bounce, Chelsea. And, I can't see him going anytime soon. Their sacking talk has really died down now they've made the next round in the Champions League. And De Zerbi's a great shout. And if we keep going around that kind of area of the league, like underrated managers, Thomas Frank. I've had a lot of people say that. Because what Tottenham needs, they need a manager who will just take over the club and kind of manage them from top to bottom. And what he's done at Brentford is massively commendable.
I think that would be I think if they appointed him, it would be reminiscent of Nuno going to Tottenham. I don't think it would work out
I do think Thomas Frank is a good manager.
Thomas Frank is a different level.
I thought Nuno was a great manager at Wolves.
But
I don't see it working out at all.
Okay. We have those opinions. There's there's all sorts of talk. There's also talk of Luis Enrique coming in, and he's not managed a club in a while.
Marco Silva as well, been rumoured for it.
Yeah, Marco Silva. The thing is, some of these managers, you kind of just want to stay at their clubs. You want to see how far those projects go.
Yeah, I want De Zerbi to stay at Brighton, but if I'm a Tottenham fan,
you look at all these managers and you look at them and go, this is what happens. You know, if you've got a good manager and you let them bed in their ideas and you let them bed in their project, you know, you're seeing the fruits of your labour. And Tottenham are, I feel like in the last few years, they've started to realise, God, we haven't won a trophy in a while. We really need that. They've got a bit desperate, and they've every season they've gone in. We need to go all out, and now it's kind of going. Now we've got a squad which is kind of mismatched. We haven't really got out too many Poch players. We've still got some players signed by Jose. We've still got players signed by Conte. It's kind of a mismatch of a squad, and you know, now some of it's ageing, and we really need to kind of sort this squad out. And finally, before we finish this off, do you think Kane's leaving in the summer?
Yes.
No, I think the boat sailed for him. I think he's staying at Tottenham now. I don't see him leaving. I think we could have said that every other year, and he's been in stronger form in those seasons. He's still in incredible form
this season, which is pretty good.
He's still in incredible form, but I think when you consider his age in the seasons before and the form that he was on, he was more likely to go then, and he didn't. I think he's just set at Tottenham.
I think this is the last summer he has. Because
I would agree with that.
He's got 2 years left in his. I think 1 year left in his deal after 2023. Is it? I think it's 1 year left. I think it's 1 year, or maybe I think it's 1 year. But this is pretty much the last summer he can do it, and it very much depends, I think, on who goes for him. Because I think if someone comes in for him, Kane will consider it. But also it depends heavily on Levy and how stubborn he is. Because I think Levy, if he's smart as he thinks he is, genuinely, I don't care how much Kane's done for your club. At the end of the day, you're not going to get money for him if you don't accept it this season. And they just need to take whatever they can because they need to start a new project. And that starts with getting rid of players and refreshing the squad a bit. And they missed that chance to sell Son for good money.
At the head of a project, though, don't you need someone who's going to carry your club through it? Imagine you get rid of Kane and Son. What is that? And
you might have to bite the bullet because if he doesn't go now, you know, I mean, he's been leading the project for the last few years, and you know what's happened. So I think if he's going to go it, because he'll go for decent money, but maybe not as much as he could have. Maybe around 80 million this summer, considering his contract situation. And Tottenham don't have too much funds. You know, with an extra 80 million, what could they do? Maybe not sign another Richarlison, but
I'm telling you now, Harry Kane will sign for Manchester United.
I do see that happening. I can see you bottling Osimhen and signing Kane.
I want Osimhen. That's the player that I want. Whether or not we get him is another question. I think the number one target for most of the people at Manchester United would be to get Harry Kane in. Premier League proven, you know, he's guaranteed goals. Yeah. He's guaranteed to score goals.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, if there's two options here for Manchester United, Osimhen and Kane, like I said, I would probably prefer Osimhen, but I'm not going to go, oh, Harry Kane, why would we sign him? You know, I think it's one of the most obvious transfers that we can see happening in the summer, I think. I think if Manchester United need a striker, Harry Kane's a bit 50-50. If we're not going to get Osimhen, Harry Kane's right there. I'll take him. Yeah. Do you not think Man United will sign Harry Kane?
Yeah, I can kind of see it happening. I can see it happening.
Where else would he go?
I don't know.
He wants to stay in the Prem.
City.
100%. City don't need him at all. The only other option in my head is actually Chelsea, and he's not going to go to Chelsea.
Oh God, there's no way he goes to Chelsea. There is absolutely no way in hell he goes to Chelsea.
Come back to Arsenal, Harry. Come back.
We don't need him.
No, we don't.
Jesus. Well, Manchester United is probably the main place.